No band is perfect, therefore it's safe to assume that no band has a perfect track record. You could be one of the best groups ever and still put out a stinker of a song, whether it's a misfire, not putting in effort, or just a flat out bad idea. There are plenty of bad songs by good bands. It's my Mutants with Attitude shirt. Yeah. The first time I did this idea for a video, it got a great reaction with a lot of comments. Please remember, this video is not meant to be taken that seriously, and it's only one person's opinion. I think all these bands are great, even if I think these 10 bad songs by good bands are bad. This is not a top 10, no ranking, just a list. Only one entry per band to add some variety, as well as no duplicate band entries from the first video, which you can check out in the video description and pinned comment. Finally, YouTube is getting harsher about takedowns, as well as UMG owning some of the songs I'll be talking about here, who are vicious, so I cannot play long clips. However, you can check out a link to each song in the description. You know how these videos work, let's get to it. When Father of All was released, the discourse on Green Day still having it started. Fortunately, we now know that they still have it, but when the song Oh Yeah came out, I think it set the wrong tone for Green Day while also confusing fans. Punk fans and emo fans of Green Day didn't know what to make of this. I still believe this is the worst Green Day single ever. Oh Yeah is elongated to the point of being obnoxious, and the awful vocal effects and lack of instrumentation flair, it's not even background noise. You are repelled by a track like this, and it comes from a band who knows how to write different styles of #1 hits. Green Day is all over the place in writing structure with Oh Yeah. When it's not grating, it's just boring. There's a short Joan Jett snippet in the track as well. It's difficult to use a rock legend in your song and still make the track awful, but Green Day found a way. Joan Jett and Green Day deserve better. So do listeners. Even if the song wasn't overplayed as a mainstream hit, Oh Yeah would still stand out as a bad Green Day song on an underwhelming Green Day album, and if I hear that Oh Yeah line again, I might lose my mind. Speaking of worst singles by a band, Foo Fighters will forever be legends, and Medicine at Midnight definitely had some winners on it, and the lead single Shame Shame was terrible. It doesn't even sound like Foo Fighters, no matter how many times you listen to it. The real shame was how weak it sounds. Shame Shame is everything you would not associate with Foo Fighters. Low energy, weak chorus, and not only a bad hook, but somehow an anti-hook where it gets quieter and slower every time the title is sang. It defies logic in songwriting and definitely goes against what Foo Fighters are all about. They performed this live on SNL and it sounded awkward even by SNL standards. Again, Medicine at Midnight had solid tracks, but I'm still scratching my head on what the different process was for Shame Shame. The slow tempo, the subdued vocal track, the rhythm that does nothing. Ugh. I heard an argument at that time saying this was an experimental approach from Foo Fighters. Were they experimenting with Z-Quill? I think about the amazing albums Foo Fighters have made, including But Here We Are, Wasting Light, Color in the Shape, and none of those albums have a song like Shame Shame on it. Thankfully. Bloodsucker, you always kill my... I think A Day to Remember is awesome, even after You're Welcome. I know other people agree with me on that, or at least I hope. We just have to remember the key rule of a bad song or two doesn't make a bad band. Although in this case of Bloodsucker, it's hard to defend that logic because this song is a nightmare. When I first heard Bloodsucker, I legit laughed out loud and then stood there with my mouth hanging open in shock. That shrill Bloodsucker shout might have been the sign that something was terribly wrong with A Day to Remember after they delayed this album and finally released it with this song on it. Bloodsucker sounds like when people making fun of mainstream rock music are trying to embellish all the bad parts, except this was serious. It also has that fueled by ramen polish in production, so A Day to Remember went from hardcore and pop punk to causing a migraine with bad mixing and vocals. It's still difficult for me to get through listening to this song without laughing, and knowing the band has done Bloodsucker live just makes me wonder, did fans sing along or did they just look down at the ground awkwardly and waited for it to end? I have to be real careful describing this one because Red Hot Chili Peppers didn't master the art of subtlety until later in their career. So in the 1980s, when the group were getting really funky and dirty, they put Special Secret Song Inside on the Uplift Mojo party plan. It wouldn't be Peppers without a word salad. If I ever walked into any building and this song was playing inside, I would immediately turn around and leave and warn people the place is dangerous. How do I describe this? It's a repeated line song, hinting at cheating and being so loud that the neighbors can hear, and then repeating the same line to the point of your skin crawling. I get people have a soft spot for the original funk rock Chili Peppers, but this song is recorded terribly, and everything about it screams creepy uncle who isn't allowed near schools anymore. I will not flash any lyrics on screen either. Look it up. I'm not giving YouTube a chance to flag the channel. The bass, the guitar, they have distracting moments of craftsmanship, but it's all for naught when Mr. Kiedis sings that same creepy line as a broken loop. I don't know. This guy singing this song is nightmare fuel, even for the 80s.
We never have sex anymore.
There was almost a decade between releases from The Offspring. Legal problems, label issues, you name it. So when The Offspring are finally allowed to release something, it turns out they aged roughly 30 years in the process, and We Never Have Sex Anymore is their level of humor and rock now. This is Weezer levels of cheese. Keep in mind, the bar is kept a little lower because everything from The Offspring after 2004, so it's not exactly up to the band's past standards. But We Never Had Sex Anymore is the equivalent of an embarrassing dad trying to be cool and funny. How do you do, fellow rockers? Even the riffs and rhythm of the song sound like a hokey sitcom opening. Remember Smash and Ixnay and Americana? Because apparently that was an alternative universe compared to what The Offspring farts around with on a glorified laugh track of a song now. The entire song is a dad joke and not the one that actually gets a chuckle. 9 years, and you return triumphantly with lyrics like, "If you won't violate me, will you just at least aggravate me?" Wow, that sucker with no self-esteem turned into this guy in this song. Worst story arc ever. When Tom returned to Blink-182, I, along with many others, had high hopes. For the life of me, I don't know why I didn't see an immature double entendre song as the main preview for a new album. I mean, Blink-182 are known for being immature. The bigger problem I didn't see coming was that the song was terrible. This was the return of Blink-182 that people remembered. For better or worse, Edging is exactly the childish song you'd expect to a certain extent. Even that could somehow be overlooked if the singing and music alongside the junior high lyrics was tolerable. It's not. Edging is shockingly bad. I was happy that Tom came back, but when I heard some of the vocals, I thought, oh no, this isn't the reason for celebration anymore. The guitars, even the drum track is all lackluster when compared to some of Blink's past discography. With or without Tom, this is less of a comeback song and more of a goof-off B-side. What you say? You wanna play? Saying that is being rude to actual goof-off B-sides. There was better stuff on One More Time, better songs that were ready to be pushed as a single, but the boys wanted to remind everyone that they were still 14. I mean, if that was the case, they succeeded. Speaking of B-sides, some songs should never be released to the public, even as a collectible. Common sense and natural instinct should have prevented the White Stripes from letting people hear Who's a Big Baby off of Blue Orchid. Hard to Be thinks they were trying to win a bet and prove they were brave enough to release it. Who's a Big Baby is if the White Stripes were actually aliens trying to sound like modern musicians and failing to fit in. Alien Jack and Alien Meg didn't fool anyone here, especially Alien Meg with the distorted vocals repeating the same line and going wah wah as if it's meant to be something memorable. I wish I didn't remember any of this. Roughly 3.5 minutes. There's nothing else. The White Stripes could be intentionally off the walls at times, but this takes the rock element out and just lets them play a weird loop after writing 4 words. I can see why it wasn't on the main album release, but I don't get why it exists in general. My conspiracy theories are that 1, the White Stripes were dared to release it, and 2, aliens took over Jack and Meg White in the studio and recorded a demo. Either one of those would at least give me a reason why this stupid song exists. As time went on, U2 really opened themselves up in terms of experimentation and in terms of product placement for Apple. The fact that I said U2 out loud probably means I'm getting Apple ads on my feed for a week. Get Your Boots On is not only a weird and flat song from U2, but it also sounds like it was made for commercials. And that's too bad because the meaning of this song about women should be given more chances to lead because men keep screwing it up, that's a good theme. But it's hard to get that message with Bono weirdly complimenting a woman and some awkward instrumentation giving you the U2 feeling of selling you an iPod. This song has not aged well either. You listen to it so many years after release and it makes you think U2's prime was decades previous. I mean, it was, but Get Your Boots On is just junk. Poorly executed junk that borders on pandering, which is weird to say for a band like U2 who have accomplished so much. Bono sounded like a parody of himself. The Edge is phoning it in for the guitar work. U2 probably got good licensing fees and royalties from the track though, so at least they got something out of it. Get your boots on, ladies, and buy the new iPhone. When you have a band who knows how to have great jam tracks and big hooks and tons of craft displayed, it's a bit disappointing when you have them shelve all that for a less than 2-minute song in quick and to the point list. Honestly, everything Queens of the Stone Age chose for this represents them badly. Rated R is an underrated album from Queens if you ask their diehard fan base, and when you ask those fans about quick and to the point lists, they usually don't defend this one. It's not worth defending. It's not worth anything. I'm not even sure why it exists outside of Josh Homme getting angry and demanding it. Shrill vocals that peak the meter, a smashed together guitar track badly layered over everything. I think the studio engineer called in sick that day, or at least they left after hearing blaring vocals in the headset and he refused to work on anything for a while. The best thing about this track is that the title lives up to its name. It's quick and under 2 minutes. It's also pointless, so another point for the wordplay being truthful. If you know of any other good qualities, let me know because I cannot find any. Possibly the most polarizing metal album of 2023 was previewed by one of the most bizarre singles Avenged Sevenfold has ever released. Off of Life is But a Dream, it was the second single, We Love You, that had me worried about what drugs A7X were on. They told us later it was acid and hallucinogens. For the record, I don't hate Life is But a Dream, so that's not the issue for me. What I can't stand is several song segments jammed next to each other with no transition and one repeated segment sounding like it belongs to a truck commercial. Even with the intentionally bonkers album, We Love You sticks out because it's so scatterbrained and chaotic. It's not just changing gears, but rather changing vehicles with how abrupt some of the shifting gets. Compare this to, any other Avenged Sevenfold single or song from the past discography, and it doesn't hold up. I still can't believe this played on the radio. There were better songs that worked as singles on the album, but nope, they chose We Love You. I even saw We Love You perform live when I shot Avenged last year. They had a little dance to it. Life really is but a dream. For the love of everything holy, kids, do not do drugs. You will end up like this. I do feel that these songs do not reflect the overall quality and consistency of the bands and artists that wrote them. I also feel that at some point, every musician needs to bounce ideas off of an outside party to make sure they are releasing something into the world that won't make them look terrible or get laughed at. Again, this video was not meant to be taken that serious. If you made it to this point in the video without typing an essay explaining why you like one of the songs, good for you. Next month, I'll do a 10 good songs from bad bands part 2. That's where the actual anger from fans will probably show up.